Hello, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, my quest is to craft a scene from The Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 2, when the Razor Crest falls through ice. This is the first snap fit kit that I've done, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was really easy, and I had a great time. I will say, however, the decals weren't easy, so if you know any products or tips when you're applying decals to models, I would love to hear about that in the comments. Once I had the model built, I landed on 8 by 6 inches, and then I started cutting foam on my Proxxon wire cutter. I wanted it to be a claustrophobic scene, as that's the kind of vibe I get from the episode, and so I added these walls. Ordinarily, I would keep the walls thick and then carve striations with a hot wire through them to make the rock faces, but I had these extra rock molds from a Woodland Scenic silicone mold, and I wanted to use them. I also used some of the XPS foam rocks that I make myself using an Olfa knife and my fingernail as texturing. I just wanted to show that once you get Mod Podge paint and a dry brushing layer on rocks, you don't really need any fancy silicone molds because you can make some really cool stuff with just the foam. And then I carved a small passageway in the back right of the cave to kind of simulate the cave that they go and explore in the episode. I mixed up a batch of Sculpta mold and started working it into the rocks. I then placed the ship into that terrain to get an idea of where it was going to sit, and then I built up some rockfall and snow around it to make it look like it fell with the ship. Originally I wanted a roof on this piece with a Razor Crest sized hole in the middle, but I realized that that was going to inhibit my light source too much, and I didn't want to start putting LEDs all over the top. So what I did instead was I cut more of that XPS foam, and I started making more rock formations, and I just started gluing them on the tops and the edges of the whole diorama to make it look like what rocks didn't fall were kind of teetering on the edge, threatening the Razor Crest and Mando and Grogu from above. Once I had those where I liked it, I made a batch of Mod Podge and black paint and started stippling it on. While that dried, it was time to carve up the Razor Crest. If you don't like seeing models get carved up and broken up, then you should probably stop watching now. Oh, too late. I took a bit of welding rod and stabbed it through where I wanted my wires to run through, and then I started cutting open a spot for the battery pack. Once that was done, I took a hot knife and carved a small channel for those wires to lead from the battery pack to the hole I made earlier. After that, I started using my airbrush and primed the project gray, which helped me see it start to come alive for the first time. I then started working on the Razor Crest by priming it the same color, adding a little bit of black here and there to try and simulate some wear and tear over the years, and then I washed it. There's some better washes out there for things like this, but as long as you can get some darkness into those nooks and crannies, then you're all good. It is worth mentioning that I take some creative liberties with this recreated scene. I make a gigantic engine fire on the left side of the Razor Crest, and that doesn't actually happen in the episode. I took some washes that I had laying around and I started applying them to the rocks. The rocks were eventually going to get a treatment of white dry brushing, so I was pretty liberal with my application here. I wanted the cave to be icy and cold looking, just like the episode. So I took a lot of blue and I started spraying it to all the walls. Wherever it was a little too much, I toned it back with more white paint. When I was happy with that, I ran the wires from the bottom out into the middle, and then I connected the LEDs. First time doing LEDs on a project, and I really enjoyed it. I found these cool little solder connectors on Adam Savage's YouTube channel. They made things a lot easier for a noob like me. If you liked what you've seen so far, considering liking or subscribing to the channel. It would help me get my name out there and this channel into the YouTube algorithm where maybe other people that are interested in similar things can find me. For people that have liked and commented in the past, I really appreciate your support. To try and give the illusion of depth, I painted black into the little cave, and then in my air booth, sprayed yellow, red, and black paint to the soon-to-be smoke. And then it was time to do the step that I was most excited for, which was mixing Mod Podge with Woodland Scenic's Soft Flake Snow, and then applying that to pretty much all over the diorama. While it was still wet, I sprinkled unmixed snow on the top of that. This build was a lot of firsts for me. First Star Wars build, first Bandai Snap Fit kit, first time incorporating LEDs and wiring into a project. And while it was all very overwhelming, I'm glad that I did it and challenged myself and learned new things. Just before I finished this project, I added some object source lighting on the back because I wanted to make the flames a little more dramatic. So I highlighted a little more yellow on that LED and put the Razor Crest where it needed to be. I painted the sides black, and after everything was done drying, my quest was complete. Here's the final footage of the Razor Crest scene from The Mandalorian.